Andy Horning, thank you for sitting down with me.
It's good to meet you.
It's good to be with you. We are at the Indiana Libertarian Party annual convention. And and we are here because you are going to be launching a campaign for Senate.
For U.S. Senate?
Tell me about that. Tell me why people are going to be supporting you. Because I know a lot of people, by the way, before I give you a chance to answer, I know a lot of people who know you personally who think you're the bomb. But tell me, but never mind. That doesn't matter.
Keep going.
That doesn't matter a bit. I mean, my mom likes me too. But, why are people going to be supporting you?
Well, I think a lot of people are now sensing, that I'm not the first person to talk about corruption in our government or how things are off the rails. There are an awful lot of people now recognizing what they were not willing to do and maybe considering changing their votes. Mm-hmm. So, one of the key problems that we...
To libertarian.
Well, yes, to anything. So the fact that, we talk like Patrick Henry, but then, vote like Pee Wee Herman is one of the big problems.
Yes.
So, you have these people that say, I got my gun, so I'm going to do Rambo. No, you're not. If you're not going to vote for what you want, you're not going to shoot your way out of this.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of people are seeing that the economics are haywire. That's hitting them in the wallet.
Yeah.
They're seeing that our culture is getting weird. Yeah. And that's hitting in their family. So their kids are coming home with weird ideas and such like that. And I think there are an awful lot of people now thinking, as Jefferson wrote in the Declaration of Independence, that mankind are disposed to suffer as long as evils are sufferable. I mean, in other words, we'll put up with a lot.
That's right.
Do anything about it.
Well said.
And I think that there are a lot of people now ready to do something about it. That's why people like RFK Jr. and maybe Andy Horning from Indiana
are getting some traction. Did the COVID regime matter, do you think? Yeah.
You talk to Don Rainwater, that was a big deal in that race.
Yeah.
And I think...
It should have been.
It should have been. And I worked in healthcare pretty much my whole life. Mm-hmm. And, just because I had to get on, I was working for international companies.
Yep.
And I had to get on airplanes and I had to, go to different countries that were even more strict with their protocols than the United States.
Interesting experience.
Yeah. And I was, in fact, stuck in Greece for 2 weeks with, I got COVID. And,
interesting. Sorry.
I was fine. I was actually kind of enjoying myself. But the point is, people are now to the point where, what did we just go through?
Yeah.
And how did we let ourselves get to a position where those guys, who are apparently wrong about everything important, they tell me what I can do, can't do, and must do. And so...
With my body.
My body. Yeah.
Wow.
So we've got these people that have been wrong about COVID, and now we know it.
Yeah.
Wrong about the vaccines,
yeah.
We know it. Wrong about the origin and funding and all kinds of things related to COVID. And now we're starting to look at how right have they been about war? How has our foreign policy actually been working? And so people are maybe even revisiting in their minds some things like, well, what was Iran-Contra about? And that was kind of like running government like a business, wasn't it? Is that really what we want? To have them competing with,
and trying to sell us on ideas.
Sell us on ideas with lies.
With lies. One of the most interesting things about the whole COVID regime debacle is that now we're finding out all that the government knew and didn't tell us.
Right. Even things like, we always knew masks were not going to work. We've got on videotape Fauci talking about how, no, maybe they'll protect you from droplets. But, it's something that so basic, and even finding out that 6-foot rule just...
Silly.
It just came from nothing. Okay, what? 6 feet? Oh, that sounds good.
Right. But then they make it seem like it's the most important rule in the world, and you better trust it.
And
obey.
We had heroes in the Walmart telling you to do this way. And the fact that, we kind of got used to the idea that maybe, too much freedom is a bad thing. And I disagree with that, of course.
Yeah.
But, you have an awful lot of people that have made such a good case of it for such a long time. You can't have ungoverned businesses. You can't have unbridled capitalism.
And do you sense that our public is turning on that and giving us a look?
turning about.
Yeah.
But really, it's not like fundamentally they've changed their ideology. It's just that their wallet is telling them different things now.
Yeah.
And so once you start getting hurt in the pocketbook and you lose your job, and you're being told by this president things that you are just obviously not true.
Right.
So this term gaslighting I'm glad to see words now coming into play
that we can use because it reflects the reality that we are experiencing.
Yeah. I don't know if you know the kind of the movie, book history of that term gaslighting, but the idea that this,
trying to drive somebody crazy.
And that's what our government.
Oh no, that light doesn't work. Oh no, that light worked. Yeah.
And putting this is. I used to feel like when I used to talk about deep state and shadow government and these things years and years and years ago. It's not like I invented it. This has been
right.
But I used to feel like I should wear a tinfoil hat when I say it. But now that people are starting to hear more truth about.
Oh, that Andy guy was right all along.
Well, I don't know if they're ready. They're at least looking to see, okay, maybe I've been lied to this whole time.
Yeah.
And what I think has been really instructive is one thing I have to say, I'm grateful to Trump. I'm very grateful that this bull in the china shop shook things up enough that we could actually, when the glass was breaking, we could actually see what was behind.
For all of his shortcomings, which are tremendous, and we don't need to go into that, his instincts about not trusting the established government were spot on.
Yep, I wish he fired people the way he. I know.
Had initially said that he would. Yeah.
I know somebody who knows enough about Trump that says that he wanted to do a lot of stuff that he got talked out of.
Yeah, well, we know that to be true. Now, Andy, you're in Indiana. You've been around Indiana. You know that Indiana is a Republican place in no small part. Have you been getting around talking to some Republicans, or?
I've been when talking to groups. I've been talking mostly to Republicans.
Oh, interesting. Okay, good for you.
Like Tea Party groups and
sure,
and they're receptive. And
I bet.
I mean, it's not really a secret that the Tea Party started out with a lot of libertarians.
Right.
And I was actually credited for jump-starting it here, at least here in Indiana. We had a protest on taxation here in 2007. We filled, the governor's mansion street, closed down Meridian Street, and it made national TV.
Interesting.
So that was fun and wholesome. But the Tea Party kind of turned very quickly after that and became a kind of different movement.
Yeah.
I think the Tea Party is now, or the people that were in the Tea Party are now coming back more to libertarian ideals.
You think they'll give us a look?
Well, they are giving us a look. And so it's not even so much that they will. I think that the segment of people that were Tea Partiers are now saying, I'm an American first. I'm going to listen to what you have to say. And I actually had a box of my books that I brought to one of these Tea Party meetings. And I was surprised every one of them sold.
That's really interesting. Now, I was about to ask you about your book. You had some success with the book. Tell us about the book and explain to me why the book has been successful. What is it about the book that, in your estimation, catches people? What's the hook here? What's the big idea?
So here's the scoop. It's got the whole Constitution.
What's the name of the book?
It's called Relighting the Torch.
Exactly. Relighting the Torch.
And the cover art is the Lady Liberty holding the torch and the smoke coming out. And the idea being...
I've seen that. Very cute.
So that I've got the whole Declaration of Independence, which is kind of like the Dear John letter that started all of this.
Yep.
So, this is what a very polite way to say, we've had it with you guys. We're going to do something else here. The Declaration of Independence and the Constitution with my annotations.
Yep.
Now, I've got a lot more in the book, but first thing is the annotated constitutions that I've written for Indiana Constitution and the Federal Constitution, they've been used in homeschooling groups and such for decades now.
Yes.
And so they were kind of useful, and I figured I'd...
Really interesting, and thank you for that. Families owe you a debt of gratitude for that.
Yeah, I owe you that too. I had to print out some stuff. Anyway, so I will get that to you. Anyway, the beginning of the book is more how this was supposed to work. Some fundamental ideas.
Yep.
I've got a whole chapter on the Fed, and
yep.
I've got a whole chapter on language. The importance of language. It changed the meaning of words, it changed the meaning of laws.
Sure.
So it's a critical importance. I've got a whole chapter on the origin of the so-called two-party system that our founders were very explicit in both warning us against
and resisting,
and being unconstitutional. Because it isn't constitutional. And then I've got a couple other things in there, but then I get into the Declaration of Independence, Constitution, and then a chapter on what I think we need to do to straighten things out. So I've got a list of proposals both legislatively and in terms of more immediate action, because ultimately speaking, unfortunately and fortunately, all of this is both our fault for getting us into this. We voted ourselves.
Of course we did.
And it's also in our power to get us out.
Right.
So,
of course, we got manipulated by the politicians into believing some of the crap that we put up with for generations now is a good idea.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me
well
every election day for 150 years.
Yeah, so, we need to wake up.
Yeah. So at some point we have to take accountability for both our ability to screw up and our power to fix it.
The elements in the book that talk about a prospective view of what we can do about it, do those elements lay the groundwork and foundation for your political campaign?
They do, in so much as some of these things I've been talking about for a long time, like nullification.
Exactly.
So nullification of the
The people watching this who know me know that I'm big on nullification and the 10th Amendment and our constitutional challenges. Where can people get the book?
Well, it's on Amazon. So I've got an audio book, it's Kindle edition, I've got a hardcover paper.
Right. Relighting the torch.
Relighting the torch.
Okay. Now, do I understand correctly that in addition to having written a book, in addition to being in the process of launching a campaign, we're now talking about launching a podcast?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
It's mostly going to be, at least initially, on kind of based around the book. So I'm going to be talking about...
Same name.
It is, yes.
Relighting the torch.
And it's under my name on, you can look up Andrew Warning, and you'll see the podcast. But I'm going to have, it's going to be, interspersed with other things where current events come up. But mostly, I'm going to be focusing on the Constitution, how it's supposed to work, how to get this right again. And in fact, the one that I just loaded up, just yesterday or the day before, just yesterday, was essentially talking about the 9th and 10th Amendments, which I think are the most important two sentences in at least the amendments. And then I use the 18th and 21st Amendments as sort of examples of how, if you want to do something stupid, the 18th Amendment is the right way to do it. And then, if once you realize it's stupid, you got the 21st Amendment to fix it. And so that was sort of my explanation of how the 9th Amendment is all about, we have all rights that are not specifically taken away.
Yes.
So the government can't tell us what we can do, can't do, or must do without a specific constitutional amendment that spells it out.
Absolutely.
Whereas conversely, the government has no power that's not specifically granted. And so between those two things, those two concepts, which I try to take pains to illustrate in some kind of way, you can see that even by the time of the 18th Amendment, our politicians knew that you can't just ban something. And in fact, with the 18th Amendment, they didn't ban consumption or purchase of alcohol. It was only, the basically production, transportation, and selling it.
Good point.
And so the fact that our government then ended up poisoning alcohol supplies, killing 10,000 people, shows kind of the other part to this, where you give these guys an inch, and they will take a mile.
They are not here to help you. They are not people who trust you, and they're not people that whom you should trust.
Well, and this is a key point. What you're bringing up is something the founders were really clear on, the fact that they trust people more than they trust government. And that you can give liberty to people, and that it's dangerous. Liberty is dangerous, but giving power to politicians is more dangerous.
Of course it is.
And so even the worst mass murder is going to kill 20 people if they're really good at it, whereas governments kill millions.
Yeah, absolutely. That's well said. People are going to want to help you in your Senate campaign. Where should they go and look to find out more information about you, about your campaign, how they can get involved?
Horningforsenate.com. So just Horning, F-O-R, I didn't do before.
Okay.
Horningforsenate.com. H-O-R-N-I-N-G-F-O-R.
Yep.
So that's easy enough, but I'm also easy to find on Twitter, Facebook, Google, actually. Having been I worked for the Indianapolis Star I had a column in the Indianapolis Star
Nice.
For a few years.
Yep.
I worked for, I was an adjunct scholar for Indiana Policy Review Foundation.
Nice.
So it's pretty easy to find a lot of papers and things like that I've written in decades.
Yep, very good. You're an IU guy.
Well, I might be considered a traitor because I went to IU, so I don't know what that makes me.
That's tricky. My parents met at IU. I've got IU in my veins. Purdue was the only school my dad told me I couldn't go to on the planet. On the planet, because I can go anywhere, any nation, any school, except for
engineering school.
I know it is, and I was an engineering major, so that really set me back in my seat. It was funny, but I'm glad to know you. What years were you at IU?
I was afraid you were going to ask me that. This is ancient history. 70s, 76 to 70.
Well, 76 was NCAA championship time. I remember it well.
I got a black eye. Well, that's a separate story. Never mind. Never mind.
Those are the days, though. But you've been in and around Indiana for a long time. You know a lot of people. A lot of people know Andy Horning.
Well, I've only had a couple of forays outside Indiana where we lived in, upstate New York and Texas for a little while. But mostly I've been working from home. I've got a little farm in Freedom, Indiana. And
what's the real name of the town?
It's Freedom. It's actually Freedom.
It's actually called Freedom, Indiana.
It's actually called Freedom.
Now, is your farm Freedom, Indiana, or is Freedom, Indiana even bigger than your farm?
It's a little bigger.
A little bigger than your farm.
No, Freedom, Indiana is a real place. In fact, we've had like one of the first movie Tarzans. We have a Medal of Honor winner that still lives there. And so it's not entirely. And then there's Andy Horning that lives there.
It lives there too. Yeah. I think that's tremendously exciting. Andy, good luck in your race. It's great to be with you. We are at the Libertarian Party of Indiana convention.
Welcome to Indiana.
Good luck and have a great convention. Thanks for letting me be with you. Nice to see you.